Today I would like to tackle a monster problem concerning multiplying and dividing monomials. Okay, so our problem is this. We have negative 2 x cubed y to the fourth to all raised to the third power divided by negative 3 x cubed y squared times, let's actually use dot for times, 3x over 2y all squared. All right, so we need to simplify this. Okay, my advice would be to first simplify each of the exponents first. Actually, if you remember the order of operations, all the operations here are either exponents or multiplication and division. So because exponents have precedence over multiplication and division, let's simplify all the exponents first. So we have exponents here and here, so let's simplify those. So the first part would be, remember we have to distribute the exponent to each of the terms. So we have negative 2 cubed, and then x cubed, and then y to the fourth cubed. All right, and then let's simplify this. Negative 2 cubed, it's negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. That is positive 4 times negative 2, which is going to be negative 8. Okay, x cubed to the third power. This is a power rule. We need to use the power rule and multiply the 3's together. So we get x to the ninth power. And same thing here. We have to use the power rule for y, and that's going to be y to the fourth, 4 times 3, so that's y to the 12th. Okay, so we've simplified our first section here. Divide that by, our second section doesn't have any exponents, so let's just write that as is. Okay, and then our third section, we need to distribute the power to each of the terms inside. Okay, so that's going to be 3 squared times x squared over 2 squared times y squared. All right, now this will simplify to, actually I should have written this up here, 3 squared times x squared over 2 squared times y squared. Down here, I'm going to use the simplified version. That's going to be 9, 3 squared is 9, times x squared over 4 times y squared. Okay, so now we just have multiplication and division. When we just have multiplication and division, we can just work from left to right. Okay, so let's do this division first, the division here. Right, so negative 8 divided by negative 3. Okay, we're looking at the number first. Negative 8 divided by negative 3, that doesn't divide evenly, so we can just leave it as negative 8 over negative 3. And of course, the negatives are going to cancel. Okay, so we're done with the number part. For the letter x to the ninth divided by x cubed, that's going to be x to the 9 minus 3 using the quotient rule. That's x to the sixth. Y to the 12 divided by y squared is going to be 12 minus 2, which is 10. Okay, so we've simplified our first section here. Times 9x squared over 4y squared. Okay, now let's do our second part here. Let's look at the number part first. 8/3 times 9/4. Well, fortunately, all of these can cancel. So 3 and the 9 cancels. The 4 and the 8 cancels. And we're just left with 2 times 3. 6. Actually, it should be a fraction, so 6, so the numerator is 6, and x here, x to the 6th times x squared, that's going to be x to the 8th using the product rule, and y to the 10th divided by, remember this is in the denominator, so we need to subtract the powers here. So 10 minus 2 is going to be y8. Is y8 going to be up here or down here? It's going to be up here because 10 is bigger and 10 was up here. 10 was in the numerator. Okay, so our denominator is basically just 1. So we can just write the numerator. So our answer is going to be 6x to the 8th, y to the 8th. Now, let's try one more question. We have, it's a different kind of question, but we can use the same methods to solve this. 6x to the 5th, y to the 12th, divided by something, and we multiply this times 12x to the 4th, y to the 10th, and then we get 24x to the 7th, y to the 17th. And the question is asking, what goes inside this blank to make this equation true? Okay, so let's look at each of these separately. So let's look at the numbers with the numbers. Let's look at the x's with the x's. And let's look at the y's with the y's. Okay, so for the number part, we did 6 divided by something, and then we multiplied that times 12, and then we got 24. Okay, so what would go inside this blank here? Well, if you notice, 24 is 2 times 12. So that means this part over here has to be 2. Because if you when you multiply that times 12, it became 24. Then for this part to be 2, we'll have to do 6 divided by 3. Okay, so that would be what goes in the blank here. Actually, that should be in red. I wrote the numbers in red. All right, oops, not 6, 3. Okay, so our number part is 3. Now let's look at the x part. We have x to the 5th over here, dividing that by something, and multiplying by x to the 4th gave us x to the 7th. Okay, again, let's look at this piece by piece. So something times x to the 4th gave us x to the 7th, right? So for x to the 4th to become x to the 7th, we need to add 3 here. So that means this part needs to be x cubed. X cubed times x to the 4th will give us x to the 7th. So if this part is to be x cubed, x to the 5th divided by something gives us x cubed. What would that something be? And of course, that would be x squared, right? Because 5 minus 2 would give us 3. Okay, so our x part is going to be x squared. Lastly, the y part, we have y to the 12th divided by something. We have a blank here. Divided by something times y to the 10th gave us y to the 17th. Okay, again, looking at this piece by piece. Y to the 10th times something gave us y to the 17th. And if you notice, 10 plus 7 gives us 17, right? So this part will have to be y to the 7th. Y to the 7th times y to the 10th would give us y to the 17th. Now for this part to be y to the 7th, this part, the part that is blank, needs to be y let me use my green here. Oops. Y to the 5th here. Okay, because 12 minus 5 will give us 7. Okay, so our y part would be y to the 5th. So when you come across a daunting problem like this, break it piece by piece. In this case, I broke them up into numbers and x's and y's, and do them piece by piece, and that should make the problem much easier.